Another major story, Lana, over the past week, Alexei Navalny in Russia. He was Vladimir Putin's most prominent domestic foe. He died on Friday at the Arctic prison where he was serving a 3-decade prison term. Navalny was incarcerated at the IK3 penal colony north of the Arctic Circle. That doesn't really matter where it was. On February 16, 2024, this was an announcement. He felt unwell after a walk, almost immediately losing consciousness. The medical staff of the institution arrived immediately, and the ambulance team was called. All necessary resurrection measures were carried out, which did not give positive results. Doctors of the ambulance stated that the death of the convict, the causes of the death are being established. Some are calling it the sudden death syndrome. What do you think caused that, Lana?
Putin did it?
You think? You think he was responsible?
I mean, who else? Santa Claus?
Yeah.
Santa Claus hang out in Siberia? I don't know.
Yeah, we had a discussion last week about Jon Stewart's comments on his first show, Back to the Daily Show. And boy, I'll tell you, there are a lot of just happy dudes that Jon Stewart said this and wanted to in my face it. I've got friends that I'm in, and they just thought it's the greatest thing in the world because Jon Stewart talks shit about Joe Biden. And it's kind of like this, your boy did it. And what do you have to say now? Well, if they saw our show last week, they saw what we had to say, or at least what I had to say. And what I said was, Jon Stewart doesn't control my thoughts, guys. Right. I'm not a MAGA person. Right. So I don't have a leader who tells me what to think.
Right.
I was watching it in real time and I knew exactly what I thought and I knew exactly what I was going to say on the show as I was watching it. I didn't even wait to see what other people were saying about it. Right. There's this big celebration, but the point is that in that thing that upset me the most, and again, I said, you can criticize Joe Biden all you want. You can be concerned about his age all you want to. That's not my issue.
That's
my
fair.
issue is at the end, when you say, no matter who wins, we're going to be okay. And then on his very show last night, he did a piece about Tucker Carlson going over to interview Vladimir Putin, and he was making fun of that. He was also showing a lot of the protesters for Navalny and the way they were being treated and being arrested and thrown in jail, and comparing how that could happen here if Donald Trump was president. So I find it a little rich that last week we were saying we'll be fine either way, but this week it's kind of like, well, this could happen if Donald Trump is president.
That will happen if Donald Trump is
There's
not.
no question.
He said he wants to do it. Like his attorney said, like he's immune to anything.
In fact, Lana, there was just an article from Politico that came out, and that, you have that, we were talking about last week, that Project 2025 or whatever it's called. Right. There was this article in Politico, I'm reading this here off my laptop, that the headlines are Trump allies prepared to infuse Christian nationalism in second administration. An influential think tank close to Donald Trump is developing plans to infuse Christian nationalist ideas in his administration should the former president return to power. Spearheading the effort is Russell Vought, who served as Trump's director of office management and budget during his first term and has remained close to him. Vought is frequently cited as a potential chief of staff. So this is one of the guys that they might have as their chief of staff. Some guy who thinks that Christian nationalism, which is defined here as Christian nationalism in America, Christian nationalists believe in America believe that the country was founded as a Christian nation and the Christian values should be prioritized throughout the government and public life. Now, I can tell you one thing. That's not a fucking life that I want to lead. I don't disparage your religion, and I don't disparage Christianity. I mean, it could be a beautiful thing for a lot of people, but now I got to live in a country based on a book of fairy tales and based on a guy that may or not be floating around doing magical things for people. I don't know. It just doesn't excite me.
They don't even live by that. You know what I mean? Like
Well, that is true.
they're
Very true.
pushing Christian nationalism to brainwash people, but none of them live a Christian life because none of the things that they do is Christian. But they're starting it. They're starting it even before, like they're laying the foundation. That ruling that the Alabama Supreme Court just did on Friday, saying giving personhood to frozen embryos
Mm-hmm.
is laying the foundation of this
Yep.
Christian nationalism. Like
Correct.
a frozen embryo now is considered a person. So how you dispose of that, woman goes in, she's having problems with fertility, she goes for IVF, they fertilize the eggs, they freeze the eggs, they do as many as they can to give her the most chance of getting pregnant. She gets pregnant maybe on the second try. There's tons of frozen embryos there. The doctor's like, whoa, we can't, what do we do with these? If we throw them away, maybe we're committing murder under Alabama law.
Right.
So now doctors are going to stop doing IVF because they're in a spot where they don't know what to do with these embryos after use, or if they're dropped, or if by chance, I don't know, you do something to it and it's not an embryo. Like they're, oh my,
And
this is what y'all asked for.
well, but what they ask for will be in, a no pun intended, heaven for them. It would be heaven. It would be the greatest thing in the
No,
world.
for
Now,
the
of course,
men, for the men, for the white men. What Republican women use IVF.
yeah,
It's not
no
going to be
question.
right. So, like when they
Well,
can't find IVF doctors, what happens?
for the white men, Lana, until their wife or girlfriend or daughter
Right.
gets pregnant through a rape, or gets
Right.
pregnant, or has a miscarriage and it comes out in the toilet,
Yeah.
and now all of a sudden you're finding yourself on trial
Right.
because of your miscarriage.
Right.
That happened, by the way. That's not
Yeah.
something I'm making up. That literally happened in
Yeah.
this country already.
Yeah. And the jury did not indict her.
Right.
Thank God.
At least today they didn't.
Right. At
Yeah.
least today.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, you talk about pardons. That's an instant pardon right there. I mean,
Yeah.
this is so uh,
This is
you
where
know,
we're at. This is just a bad place. That's why, I really think that, Americans know what's going on. I just
I
think
do
that
too.
they're not excited right now, or they are, or they're just like, you know what, there's nothing to be excited about. Just tell me when I need to get up and do what I need to do, and then I'm gonna stand in line and fucking cast my ballot.
That's exactly right. I
I
think
mean,
they come to their senses and they're holding their nose for a Biden vote, which again, for me personally, as somebody that has been following all of this, I just don't understand why Joe Biden is a horrible president other than he's old. If your thing was, I don't know, maybe he dies in office. Okay, we discussed this last week.
we have
There's contingency plans. We're going to
right,
be, then we will be okay. That's when Jon Stewart can say, if Joe
right,
Biden died in office, don't worry, everybody, we'll still be okay.
right.
But if Donald Trump wins, I don't know that everybody's going to be okay. I feel pretty positive that everybody is not going to be.
Yeah. No, we talked about this. You're going to lose your jobs if you work in the federal government. You're not going to have jobs. He's bringing in a whole slew of his people. You got my pillow guy is going to be in the White House. Like it's going to be crazy.
Is it media control too? Do they control the media? Do they
That's what
control,
people
all
want.
these media people who
Yeah,
want to both sides everything are going to
right,
find themselves, next thing you know, not
right.
being able to report what they want to report.
Because Trump wants Russia. He wants a Russian America, a
And
Russia.
people would say, "Oh, that's going too far. That's going to." But Donald Trump has shown he doesn't care
He
about
said
what you
it.
think.
He said that that's what he wants.
He
Like
did. He literally said it.
he doesn't want protesting. How Putin now, those people who go to put a flower to honor Alexei Navalny, they're being arrested.
Right.
That's what Trump wants. What did he talk about with BLM? Oh no, we can't have protesting. Like he doesn't want anyone to say anything bad about him. And that's
Lana, the thing is that if there was a Black Lives Matter protest, they're all going to be in jail. If
yeah.
there was an uprising like January 6th again,
Oh, that's
they'll
good.
be fine. That's the thing. None of them are getting arrested. That's the big issue. Now, everybody wanted to throw in my face the Jon Stewart comments, which I really don't care. Again, my opinion doesn't change. You're not opening my eyes to anything. It didn't. But one of his very good buddies, Stephen Colbert, was on his show last week. He had some comments, and nobody sent me these comments. And for a comedy show, he took about 30 seconds to say something pretty serious. I didn't have anybody send me this, and I don't have the time to waste to send them this because there's no sense in battling back and forth on, well, did you see what Stephen Colbert said? Doesn't matter, but I am going to play it on the show because this is what he had to say on the differences between Joe Biden and Donald Trump.
I know how numb we've become, but it's not normal. No other candidate for the presidency has ever had to pause his campaign to defend himself in multiple courts. And I would like to point out that in all 7 of his cases, no one doubts that he did these things. We're just sitting around patiently waiting to find out if the wheels of justice will grind fast enough for there to be any consequences. And the media is covering it like it's any other political story, like it's all horse race.
You know, and again, it's very rare for Stephen Colbert to take 30 seconds to try to not say something funny, you know, and that was dead on. The media is covering this like it's some sort of horse race, like, oh, who's it going to be, Trump or Biden? This is not the same fucking thing. And the fact that we're normalizing this fucking moron is got somebody like Lana and myself who have intelligence. It's making us fucking crazy.
Yeah. It's funny. I don't know when we say media, I don't know what media we're talking about or he's talking about because all media is not normalizing it, right? Like if we from the early morning until evening, MSNBC is talking about and having analysts on talking about the threat of Donald Trump. Like it's just all day. So I'm not sure, like, what are you talking about, the local?
Well, I
like
think
Fox? Like, who are we talking about?
I think I have an answer for that.
Okay.
But obviously, I don't know if this is true or not. I think when he says media, it's one of those things like, you know who I'm talking about when I'm talking about it. You know, when I say media, his idea is, you know who you are, you know what you're doing. Again, his buddy Jon Stewart was covering this last week like it was a 2-horse race.
Right.
He's got, and again, it's not just all left or right media that's doing that. I do see some of, and I hate calling this, I mean, because there shouldn't be such a thing as a right media and a left media. That just should not exist.
Having news, right?
Yeah, it should be news. But if you consider what is the left media and what is considered the right media, again, it sounds even stupid saying it because CNN, as much as I despise it, I still I don't say that that's the left side media the way they say it. They call CNN, oh, so what do you, everything, you watch CNN, obviously you're just parroting CNN. I'm like, I don't even watch CNN. But if I did, there are times I can turn on CNN and they're not always pro-Biden. They're not always anti-Trump. They're not always, so I don't know. I think when he says that, I think it's kind of like if there's one too many of the media saying it, I think that's what irritates him and it irritates me too. At least that's what I got from it.
Okay.
Yeah. Does that make sense? Do you agree, disagree?
Makes sense.
Yeah. All right.